Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the news crew, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. We had a wee break last week with the crew, but the crew are back to get stuck into all of the latest from the NFL. Tonight, we're going to be talking about all the latest news, who is sitting pretty after the free agency frenzy. We're going to have our statistic of the week and our new feature, This Week in the NFL I Learned. Like, subscribe, and follow the crew on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. As always, I'm joined by some of the finest crew members. First up, we've got Brian, the conscience of the Cleveland Browns, which explains a hell of a lot if you think about that. Brian, how are we tonight, pal?
I'm absolutely having that as a moniker. Brian, the conscience of Cleveland, Donlan. Love it. I'll be having that all day. I'm doing very well, mate. It's been, I'm not going to turn ticks. We're going to talk about it in the pod. I've been quietly pleased with the free agency frenzy, as you call it. I quite like. Been enjoying all the chaos. But I think we've all been enjoying living vicariously through your ongoing startup dynasty draft. Is that has become, it's like 18 different folk are all drafting this, or we all feel that we've got a stake in this team. So I've been very much enjoying that. But yes, enjoying it. Looking forward to the real draft. Really looking forward to the real draft.
Maybe we'll get thrown into the draft that I'm doing just now, and I've been trying to get you guys involved. It's a long time between now and September whenever the real football starts back. So this is a new draft that I'm doing just now. 29 rounds. This is the longest that I've been in it. I see hard to try to maintain like actual like life while this is going on, and it's consuming my thoughts at all times. It's hard going. Next, we're heading to Hamilton's own Big Chief. It's Studs. Studs, how are we?
Yeah, not bad, Keith. Not bad. Just on the dynasty stuff the startup, I'm seeing right through. You know, I've sitting thinking about it today, and I'm like, wait a minute here, what's his game? You're now trying to get everybody else's draft thoughts ahead of the draft this year. I'm sitting thinking about it today, and I was like, boys, what would you do in this scenario, and what would you do in this scenario? And believe you me, I know it's all consuming, because I've sent you a trade offer and you've still not replied to it.
Do you know, I will get to that. I've had a wee peek at it. I'm not quite sure about it. I've got the first overall pick in the Cruise Dynasty League, and quite rightly so, because my team is absolutely honking. But it was long. But this was all before I knew anything about like taxi squads and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm a wee bit more grounded now, and I'm looking forward to how this continues. From Hamilton, we head over to our North America attaché and Bengals apologist. We're heading over to Stu.
Exactly, apologist.
You are the apologist supreme. You're in for a hard shift tonight, pal. How are we, buddy?
I was doing pretty well till that. You know, you guys. I have nothing to apologise for, and neither do the Bengals. But I agree with Studs. Brian and I actually had a bit of a chat yesterday on the side.
Yes, we did.
About your dynasty drafting strategy, and I was saying to Brian, I'm like, you'll notice that I have stopped giving advice now because he started asking about rookies for this year. So I've kind of surreptitiously done the Homer Simpson backwards into the head. I'll give a couple of bits of advice, and I was like, we just majorly known players already anyway that I would grab, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep all my depth picks to myself.
I was going to say, I'm just enjoying it. As soon as I got all my advice out, everybody went straight away, right, let's redraft our Dynasty League, try and take my championships off me.
What I will say though, Keith, is I was a little bit disappointed in you. You never listened to my advice. I think it was when you were doing I can't remember if it was 4th into 5th round when you were on the turn, or maybe 5th into 6th round. When you were up there, you get 2 guys picking after you. And I was looking at their teams and I was saying, like, okay, they're clearly both going to be going wide receiver here. So I went, with your next pick, you should take the best wide receiver available, or the one that you want most, to try and block them a little bit. Or, you're going to drive down the value of the wide receivers that they have. Because you were looking at a running back, I think, at first. And I was saying, like, well,
So-
there's only 4. Then there was about 7 kind of equal running backs, like, sitting, or the way I have them graded. So I figured, well, there's only 4 picks after you. So even if they decide to go rogue and not pick wide receivers, they're probably going to, you're probably going to still end up with a fairly good running back on that next pick. But you never did it. You took Freiermuth at tight end, which I was even more puzzled by. It seemed a bit of an early reach on Freiermuth, is all I'm going to say.
First of all, you're giving me far too much kudos by saying strategy. I think you'll find I'm absolutely winging this. Absolutely winging this. Fourth round I went for. So first round I'm 10th position. Then we've got Snake, of course. I went for Josh Allen. That's me set QB for
Solid
that's
pick.
me. Solid pick. Went for Josh Allen. Then Stephon Diggs. Try to get big points. A wee bit Mr. Reliable as well. They two are a good one too. Third pick I went for Tony Pollard. I wanted a decent RB1 that's going to I can rely on. I don't have to do much about. And a couple of the other big names had already went.
Yep.
The fourth round I went for Debo Samuel.
Okay, this is. I was fine with everything you did to that point.
Solid.
So
Solid.
I'm thinking the
Solid
49ers are going to be a wee bit suspect this year. Maybe they're
That's
not
a
set
bold
at
take.
QB just now. I don't know. I
They
think
don't
they've
need a
lost a
QB.
few.
They played all year with like 5 different. They were all broken.
Aye.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm thinking, right? Went Debo, and then on the turn, as you said, so the guy after me took Miles Sanders, then Chris Olave, George Pickens, DJ Moore went, and I went for Damian Pierce. I'm thinking young, up and coming. Texans are starting to hopefully be changing direction on the upturn here. I
About
went
to
for
lose all
Damian
his
Pierce there.
snaps to Singletary.
Damien Pierce is atrocious and terrible, and this should in no way involve Smudger considering trading anybody to me in our Dynasty League. He is a waste. He is worth barely a third round rookie draft pick. Smudger, over to you.
Barely.
So who came after that? Who went next? Godwin went, George Kittle went, Christian Watson, who I've had issues with in the past, thinking I was trading for him and ended up with some other donkey.
That's still one of my favourite
That was
moments of
amazing.
last
That
year.
was amazing. Keith, you were right. You were right on the cusp of like doing well, and like the actual,
I got
the
pairing,
top
wasn't
part
it?
of the playoffs. You were on the
I
cusp of
got
doing well,
ready mixing.
but you still ruined your team.
Absolutely. I thought Mixon was done after his 50-pointer. I thought that was him. He was
Aye.
so I
Well,
swapped
Perini
him
came
for
in and done
pairing.
well. Yeah.
Sell him high.
Aye.
Listen, don't you listen to them, Keith. You're a trophy winner. That's all that matters, mate.
We're really selling the podcast tonight, aren't we? We're really saying we know what we're talking about here. Anyway, let's get on with our kick-off question.
Well, you've got 2 champions and one member of the crew that got into the playoffs and is the only double champion in the LMK. So it's you're just letting the side down basically.
That's what we're saying here.
I'm basically Baker here, right? I'm just here
Oh.
as the hold the fort.
We'll get to Baker.
Hold the fort. Let the talent around me just do their thing, and I'll just keep everything ticking over.
Also, the classic Baker style as well. Don't think too much. Just get the ball at your hands as quick as possible. And good things.
Solid advice, actually. That
Aye.
is solid advice.
Because when he starts thinking, that's when you worry.
Folk can see Bride's face going as red as my back wall there with the rage of that comment, Keith. It's no longer
Okay,
just a pod, they can see the action.
We're moving on. The kick-off question tonight, gentlemen. This is Brian came up with this one. How would you grade your team's performance so far in the off-season? So we're looking at. So I'm a Seahawks fan. Brian, you're a Browns fan. Studs, Chiefs, and apologies there for the Bengals.
For my watch, the Bengals.
Put your shades on for your
I know,
answer,
put on
please.
my-
Brian, I'll come to
orange
you
and black.
first of all. Brian, I'm looking for how's your team doing? So give us a wee update in the news.
I'm gonna give the Browns so far. I'm gonna say a solid B plus. Yeah, maybe an A minus. Maybe an A minus if I can get over my evidently wild bias against Elijah Moore that no one else shares. So I've been finding out. No, bits I've really liked. So big ones with the Browns. I'll not run through all of them, but the big ticket ones. We've brought in Dalvin Tomlinson from the Vikes to help out Miles in the pass rush, which should be brilliant. Big one for me. Big fan of Ethan Pochik. Re-signed him at centre. It was a big issue with the Browns last year. We were on like a third or fourth centre by the end of the year, and it was absolutely shown that our line was more porous than a wet paper towel. Then obviously the big one, the big one. We've brought in Elijah Moore for that. And I don't understand how the maths of this works. It cost us a second, but we got Elijah Moore and a third, which apparently means Elijah Moore cost us a net fourth. Which, okay, somebody that understands how the draft maths works better than me can explain it. He is a rookie with some promise. As a rookie, he had a lot of promise, I should say. He was just a second-round draft pick. I'm concerned with the attitude. That's what worries me. The one thing the Browns really, really need at the minute, we need a quiet year. We need a year with no drama. We need a year where we're not in the front pages for everything, which is just what we've had for forever. I know sports in Cleveland kind of goes that way anyway. But yeah, so we'll see. If he can keep his head down, then B+. B+ to A-.
There you go. A year of sports washing, that's what you're hoping for.
No masseuse policy.
Hey, listen. I'm no comment. My legal team of advice.
I'll come on to you. Listen, we need to stop giving that creep any credence to anything to do with that. Studs, I'm coming to you next. Big G's lost a few players so far. How do you think you're doing in the off season?
I think the one I'm probably going to miss the most is probably under the radar, and it's Kalen Saunders. Who joined the Saints. I was a big fan of his, and I think certainly based on the responses you're seeing from the guys in the locker room, he was a big locker room guy with a lot of love in that building and in the kingdom as a whole. To be honest, I think he kind of sneaks under the radar in some of the work that he does. He is obviously playing on the D-line, he's not going to be a wee guy, but he is certainly a handful, and I think that probably frees up Chris Jones a little bit. Maybe means he didn't get double teamed as much as what teams could do. So I think Kalen Saunders is one that I think will probably miss a little bit more. The likes of Thornhill, who joined the Browns, was a decent player. I think his rookie season in particular, he was having a pretty good year until he got a bad injury, which ruled him out for the rest of the year. And then he's been okay. Obviously, he's won a couple of Super Bowls with us. So probably saying he's been okay is probably a bit harsh.
I'm pleased with that one. As a Browns fan, I'm pleased with that pickup.
Thornhill's he's a good player. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we do. I've seen rumours of. No rumours, but a lot of fans maybe wanting us to trade for D-Hop in the wide receiver room. We've obviously got Tony, who looked good towards the end of the year, coming in there. So I think it'll be interesting to see if he can stay healthy for a full season. I think Tony's going to be a bit of a weapon for us.
In the NFL sense, not the Glaswegian sense.
To be fair, with Tony, probably has a bit of a wet him in both senses of the word. So I think I like the look of Tony, and then it'll be interesting to see what we do in the draft, certainly. I think picking up Drew Tranquil for the Chargers as well to add a wee bit of beef to a wee bit of experience, really, to our linebacker room, because it's three young guys in there, and Bolton, Willie Gay and Leo Chenai, who have been excellent since coming to us. So I think it's all about probably what we do in the draft, but I think if the last few years have shown us anything, I think it's certainly got to be in which we trust.
I think he's have done, considering he's got to Super Bowl, and at that time that so many players could have left. Won the Super Bowl. I think he's done actually quite well. He's steadied the ship. Lost that. Is it the enemy? Went to the Commanders.
Yeah.
But yeah, lost there. I thought he's not quite taken over as head coach, but I think he's in the wings waiting.
He'll be head coach of the Commanders by November.
I think it's going to take all the way to November.
I'm being generous. I was thinking Black Friday. Black Friday just sprung to mind.
So I think he's have done really well there to steady ship. He's always do well in the draft as well. So should be quite good. So what was your rating there? Sorry.
I'll go for a solid B, to be honest. I think in terms of transactions, I think we're just kind of middle of the road. I think we're waiting to see what kind of happens. We've lost some big names. I mean, Frank Clark is probably the most obvious big name in there, especially on the defensive side, and he seems to come alive in the playoffs. I think it was 2 sacks off of the all-time sack leader in the playoffs, something like that. So, but he's somebody that's not actually signed for anyone. And I remember actually hearing an interview with Brett Veach just after the Super Bowl where he basically said, "We've got a number in our head. We'll see what Frank Clark's number is. If they're close, we'll maybe be able to do something. If they're miles apart, then they won't." But the fact that he's not signed for anyone, and I'm not hearing about him doing any visits, might be a sneaky chance maybe to get him back in a 1-year deal or something like that. But we did sign another rusher for the Niners just to kind of ease that burden.
There's something that you've noticed throughout the league is that quite a few players are maybe testing the waters elsewhere, but then happy to stay where they are, where they're familiar, where their families are, and it seems to be quite a settled period for quite a lot of teams. Big thing I've been hearing about the free agency and all this time here is about just plugging the gaps so that you're not going into the draft desperate or really, really desperate for a position. You're plugging. You're not making yourself needy. That other teams can kind of sense that and then maybe take a lane of you whenever you maybe try to move up or anything like that.
I thought we were not going to slag the Browns anymore.
Barry's quite good with the draft and free agency.
I think we should get to like a Browns bashing session later on.
When is the next Browns? What year did the Browns next have a first round pick?
Next year.
Next year?
Oh no, is it a year followed? No, maybe a year followed. No, year followed.
It was so confident there.
No, I was. Two years worth. I know. Who would trade away for firsts? We'll give you one lightly used Kareem Hunt for a first. But no. Sorry, year after next.
Myles Garrett will surely get traded for a first just to.
He'll
get his defensive player of the year. Just as soon as he goes away from the Browns, he'll get
defensive player of the year this year.
For my own team, the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to give them a grading of B-. I've not really done anything really flashy. I think the big thing for the Seahawks is that we've settled the ship, we've calmed the waters, and we did everything that we really wanted to do. Gino's back. Gino Smith.
His name is Gino, and he's back in Seattle.
And his contract's good as well, Keith. It's pretty it's pretty team friendly as well.
Exactly. 105 million over 3 years, 52 million to him in the first year. He deserved it after last season, where I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting anything. I thought we were just going to really, really struggle last year. But it just showed you how that calming influence and the experience that he'd built up over those years and grinding away, just knew that he would get his chance, and boy did he take it. It was great to see, and absolutely deserves it. But it's just carrying on that with a good feeling throughout the full team.
He also
got loads of young rookies there that are going to come on another leaps and bounds again this season. Drew Lock's back for another year. That's an easy $4 million, by the way, sitting in the sidelines there, watching Gino. Myers.
I mean, what I would say, or Keith, what I would say about that though as well is, like, obviously with Gino back, Gino seems like the kind of guy that if you, let's say the Seahawks do decide to draft Stroud or whoever's sitting there when they go up to take their pick in the first round, Gino's probably a good guy to learn behind, because he doesn't seem like an Aaron Rodgers type, I'll put it that way, because I can't imagine being the backup to him with that ego. Whereas Gino is a good player, but he's worked hard to get up there, and he just also seems like a kind of, a good guy. He's like a humble guy. And then even Drew Lock, it's like, if that's your other quarterback as well, like that first year in the league for whoever, if they take a quarterback, like their first year, clearly they're not playing, but they're going to be able to learn for two guys that have been in the league and done it, regardless of how you think Drew Lock is in terms of skill and that. He's still been around the league and like working with the coaches and knows the playbook and
absolutely
could teach people just the day-to-day stuff kind of thing as well. So
I think, yeah, the
teach
But we're
Seahawks
you.
are-
not
I think
desperate.
you're pretty
It's,
much
it's
set up,
something
yeah.
that we can. I'm not sure we will go for a QB in
Yeah.
this draft, but we're not desperate for it either. It's not as if it's a need for us. We can certainly look at it. Maybe even trade back a wee bit. There'll be a few teams maybe looking to move up to fifth, get some more picks. We've done well with the picks that we got in the past couple of seasons, so I'm looking forward to that. Stu, what about yourself? B minus for the Seahawks for me then. What about yourself?
That's fair. How would I grade it? I mean, it's one of these things where free agencies, it's funny how everybody kind of likes to rush out and try and crown winners and losers on like day one or day two of free agency. And it's like, well, guys, we've got like the whole summer
Winning the
to
league
go.
in March. Winning
And
the league in
also,
March.
That's just, like according to everything I've read, like for the Ohio media, for the last like 4 years, the Cleveland Browns have won the off season every single year. It's like
The amount
the
of
Browns have won
Super
the
Bowls.
off-season.
Imagine the amount of rings we have, it's embarrassing.
I don't think you could say that last season.
Aye, well, true.
Well, there was still a lot of people saying like, oh, even with Deshaun Watson not being able to play for most of the year, oh, the Bengals will be coming like third and the Steelers will be fourth and the Browns will make it into the playoffs in second spot. There was a lot of that in the media last year, Keith, after the Deshaun Watson thing. And then
sadly, the man's
turns
right.
out they probably could have, maybe not probably, I think you would have had a chance at making the playoffs if you just left Brissett.
We
just
both
left
say that
Watson.
all year.
Just leave Watson to learn the playbook. Anyway, I'm getting off my own team. So the Bengals, how do I think they did? Obviously, we lost some like fairly big pieces in Von Bell, who's one of my favourite players, and I was literally just about to pull the trigger and buy a jersey, but I was waiting to see him re-sign. And obviously he didn't, because right now I'm sitting with a mixing jersey and who knows whether we'll cut him or not. I don't think we will, because that's not the way the Bengals operate. If we do, that'll be next year.
Plus, you don't know how you can take it.
Oh, come on! Come on!
Allegedly.
You can't say that. He was exonerated, as I told you. As I told you, he would be.
We'll get to that in the news.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the news. That's we have a lot to talk about, don't we? So yeah, Von Bell went, and obviously Jesse Bates. That's a bigger loss at safety as well. Like he's went off, and where did I confused where they both went? Bates went to Atlanta, didn't he?
Yeah, Bates is at Falcons.
Aye, which is
big
Falcons.
Loss.
That division's mental, so they could come first. A big loss, big game for the Falcons. And
huge.
Fair play to him. He's got paid. We couldn't allocate all that money to safety. And also we kind of started planning for this last year, and that we drafted Dax Hill, 29th or 30th or whatever it was we were picking overall last season. So we already have like a kind of young, like I guess like premier, first rate safety who got better as the season went on last year and was getting reps into the playoffs and looked he wasn't lights out, but he was looking decent. So he'll step in, and then we signed Scott from the LA Rams to like a very reasonable contract. And what I like about him is he's basically the Von Bell replacement, because he's a safety that can come up and he plays well against the rush, and that's where we kind of stand out. The one Anarumo's kind of big things he does with our defense is moving the safeties around and bringing them up into the play and kind of changing things after the fact. So Hill's had a year under Bates. He'll probably take over for him. And then Scott, he's going to step into that Von Bell role. He's experienced. He's been there in the playoffs, done it, won a Super Bowl. So I'm not worried about that position. Big wins, though. Jermaine Pratt. I thought we were going to sign Bell and let Pratt go. And instead, we brought Jermaine Pratt back. And it was so much of a surprise that BJ Hill had made a bet that he would shave his head, like all of his hair off, if Pratt was to re-sign, to have the same kind of cue ball head that Jermaine does. And sure enough, Jermaine Pratt has now announced I'll be shaving his hair off the first time I see him. So it's good to have him back.
Pretty cool.
Other big moves, studs, you'll know a lot about him. The best left tackle in the league, Orlando Brown, is now at the Bengals. Ex-Ravens. He's now trying to do the old...
He's trying to do the Ogunjobi. Try to do the Ogunjobi and get the full sweep.
Yeah, so you'll be heading to the Browns next. Don't you worry, Brian. So.
I find it interesting the fact that he knocked back a 5-year deal last year for like 139 million and is getting paid much, much less this year.
because he
It's
wants
a
to win a
complete
Super Bowl.
bag drop.
Does.
Yeah.
Well, we won one.
He could never have done that at the Chiefs.
Unheard of.
Aye.
No,
No,
like,
you're absolutely right. The deal that knocked back last year was massive, but this year it's a 4-year deal, $64 million dollar deal, with $31 million fully guaranteed, which is more
All
than
those
half of what
guarantees.
he was offered last year. It's really about knowing your time and your value and your when to go. He certainly didn't do that.
There was no way we were
for you?
no way we were franchise tagging him, not at the price it was going to cost. So that's why we obviously went out and grabbed Taylor for the Jags. So I think I says it to you, Stu, earlier on as well. I don't think he showed enough for us, which was my only concern. It's a very, very, very good run blocker, and I think you've seen that with Pacheco kind of step up. Pass protection is where I would have my concerns. And I think that you could have seen that certainly in the early part of the season, latter part of the season, he played a lot better, but early part of the season, they certainly had these issues on pass protection.
See, the thing is, Studs, is like, I mean, this is probably counterintuitive, but to me, this feels like a pretty good pickup for the Bengals, because as much as, we don't want Joe Burrow getting murdered all the time, but he has done well. Like, he's one of the guys that gets the ball off quickest in the league. So in pass protection, maybe not that it doesn't matter, but if he's like serviceable in pass protection, that's going to be enough. Where we were struggling last year is actually kind of running the ball at times. Like, we had those big blowout games for Mixon and Perrine, but those were against kind of run defenses that were not really that good anyway. So, maybe Orlando Brown is going to be able to give us a bit more push there. And I mean, I think Mixon's going to be back again for another year. Whether that's a wise move or not, he's an integral part of the dressing room, and he's a team captain and everything. So I think he is key for morale and kind of keeping everybody together. Last season, he did look like he'd lost a bit of explosiveness, so he's there. But anyway, like I like the Orlando Brown pickup. I think it shows you that at least the Bengals are now kind of fishing in that bigger name category. After going for Scott at safety, it's like we're still being smart and getting guys that can do the job for less money, but every now and again we're going to make a splash and sign a big guy. Where I think we've really fell down, to wrap this up, is we've kind of been left a bit as the team without missing a chair at tight end. And I don't know if part of that is to do with Moreau, because we were, obviously, I know he interviewed with the Saints as well, and that was where we'll get to that in the news part with the diagnosis for him. But I thought that he was a guy that we were very strongly targeting, because I know we were getting linked with Gesicki, but I thought, he's going to want more money than we want to pay. So I figured we'll check down to Moreau, and he's a guy that can do the pass blocking thing really well, which adds to the line, which helps out with, maybe sometimes if you get linemen that aren't doing as good a job. But now, all those kind of who's left, Irv Smith, I think he's the next one up, and I know the Vikes
health issues.
Lots
same
of
thing. It's like he's maybe got the health issues, so I don't know. It is a strong tight end class in the draft.
Nah, you don't want to be doing that. What is it they say about rookie tight ends? Rookie tight ends take on average 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, because tight end's such a complex position. There's so much going on. Well, exactly.
Pitts is going to go off this year.
Generational talent. No, he's on my dynasty team. I'm delighted. Generational talent, all the rest of it, and he has had very poor quarterback play. But still, it's just a position that there's so much to. You don't want to put yourself in a position that you need your rookie tight end to play.
And his quarterback play is going to get better this year under Desmond Ridder, is it? Or Taylor Heineke?
For the Bengals,
was highly thought of last year.
Or Lamar.
By the way, I think there's a better team out there that should trade for Lamar.
Are they in the AFC North?
No.
I'll do it. So,
just on
you mentioned.
Point, sorry, I was just going to say, I think one of the big things for the Bengals this year was actually keeping Captain Lou. I think keeping him in the building is a big move.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, or kind of alluding to there with the safeties, and Dax has been there for a year under him. And Scott is a veteran who's won the Super Bowl, so he's going to adapt to that plan. And also, he is exactly the kind of safety that Anarumo likes, because he can do that same role that Bell had. So yeah, I think you're right. For me, I'm going to give him a
Cornhusker.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah. I think I'm gonna give us. I've been swithering between a B- and a C+, only because of the tight end thing. But I think I'm gonna go B- because I think I'm naturally inclined to be harsh on my own team sometimes. So I'm gonna say B-, and just in the proviso that I sort of want to see what happens with tight end as the rest of this. It's a long summer. Who knows? Maybe we'll trade for someone at the draft. Maybe we'll.
It's got to be.
Maybe we'll take someone.
Yeah.
So it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
You
Eli
mentioned
Apple.
there.
That's the only other thing. We've lost Eli Apple, so that's a huge loss.
no.
C+ actually.
A whole bushel of apple gone.
Who did
you
Apple
lose?
go
I
to?
can imagine you just dump him at the side of the road somewhere and
He rolls back in.
He's not. Well, when I say we've lost him, he's not signed for anybody yet, Stud. So I'm now also going to provise that with. I am not convinced that Apple doesn't come back, because I think we've let him do the thing where he goes out, test the free agency
Test the
market
water.
to see how much he gets offered, and when he doesn't really get offered all that much money, I think he'll come back to the Bengals. And
you know what they say,
if he'll sign an $8 million or a $7 million deal for a year.
Listen, you know what they say, an apple doesn't fall far from Cincinnati.
Oh.
You mentioned there Foster Moreau, as well, just mentioned that just now.
Mm-hmm.
He tweeted throughout the week there that something of a miraculous process. So being in the free agency, he was doing lots of testings, and one of them, a routine physical conducted by the Saints medical team down in New Orleans. He's come to learn that he's got Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
He's going to be stepping away from football. Guy is such a positive guy. He says he's going to take a wee bit of time to fight it. He thanks everybody for all their love and support. And that being said, I'm going to kick this thing's ass and get back to doing what I love. I love that positive attitude and wish nothing but the very best for him as well. Hopefully, do see him back playing in the NFL when he's fit and healthy again. Good. You were mentioning some of the teams here, so what we'll do now is we'll have a wee discussion about the free agency and how we think it went. Winning teams, losing teams. Stu, you spoke at length here about the Bengals. Yeah, I think they're doing really, really well. Von Bell, though, is a big loss. Panthers, how do you feel the Panthers are doing just now? Because he seems to be a team that's want to turn its fortunes around and going up. He's a perfect guy that you want in that locker room, that kind of father figure that's going to be able to bring these young players on and kind of, I heard somebody mention it, is like the glue. He's going to bond everybody together. Do you think that's a great sign for the Carolina Panthers? Stu?
Yeah, I would say so. It's like, I think he's a guy that's really going to help out their defense, and the young guys can learn a lot from him. The Panthers as a whole, though, it's like they were making moves and signing people, but obviously one of the biggest things they did was trade away DJ Moore as well. So you still kind of get the feeling that, like, out of those teams in their division, they are going like, okay, we're definitely in a bit of a rebuild, more so than the other ones. Like those teams,
a bit of a rebuild. I can see
a bit of a rebuild, like, McCaffrey going,
fire for money.
Yeah, McCaffrey going, but I mean they brought in because they brought Sanders in, didn't they?
They'll bring in
Yeah,
Hurst as well.
they did, to be fair.
Yeah, they brought in Hurst, and Hurst was fantastic for us last. I was actually hoping we'd bring him back, but I knew he would. He was due a bit more money after the year he had with us, and he looked great. Like, see, he's a guy that's good in the line. So I don't know, they're building well, like, letting Moore go and letting McCaffrey go. They're picking up draft picks and things, though. So it's really down to what happens at quarterback, really, isn't it? Like, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, because obviously the draft picks that they accumulated have obviously probably all been shipped up to the Bears for the number one pick. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I think under Frank Reich, they've got a good head coach in there, but I think it's quite clear that they're building to make it easy for the quarterback. Like, Hayden Hurst is going to be his best friend, and Miles Sanders will be good for dump offs for him. you've got Dottie Foreman as well,
Yeah.
who come on a lot last year as well. So they've
Chuba's
got
moved
Moved
on.
on.
good
Donna
things.
Foreman's someone else. Donna Foreman.
No, Foreman moved. Chuba's
Yeah.
the RB2.
Who did
Yeah.
Foreman go to?
Good
I
Edmonton
will-
boy. That
I'll
Chuba
double
used
check.
to hear.
I thought Foreman was
That was
still
in my
here.
head a minute ago.
But I think that's the one thing with the Panthers as well. The way their defence is set up, I think Von Bell got into an already pretty talented defence
Yeah.
that they built up through the draft
Yep.
as well. I think it's only going to help them, and that defence will keep them in games.
How-
So it'll help
how-
keep them tight.
How did we forget this? He went to the Bears.
Well, Foreman's at the Bears. Everybody went to the
Yeah, he went to the
That's what we
Bears.
forgot. We'll get
To the
Chicago.
Super Bowl, Super
Oh.
Bowl champions elect, the Chicago Bears.
Oh no, I can't believe I forgot that. Grant will rip me for that one.
Oh, we've got
Other teams
one,
that
one,
are-
in, one in for the Twitter. We've got KT. Oh, Dino. Titans D-. Still no wide receivers.
Aye.
Uh,
And the defence is poop. I think I saw it as well.
yeah, still it's so hard to argue. The Titans are not in a great place. Speaking of fires, I can see from my house.
And they're
Yeah.
apparently open to trading Derek Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I
that's
mean,
if you've ever seen full rebuild,
Poor,
it is the
poor
Tennessee
Vrabel, though,
Titans.
because it's like I still feel like even last year it's like Vrabel was working miracles
Aye.
with what he had,
Aye.
kind of thing. So
It seems like the kind of guy you would absolutely run through a brick wall for. Do
aye.
you know what I mean? He just seems like, obviously, just a kind of one of the guys you would love in the locker room. I'm sure when he was at the Patriots and at the Chiefs, he was one of those kind of glue guys, and I think
Yeah.
he's carried that into his coaching, where he just knows how to motivate his players, knows how to get the best out of them. Probably doing a bit of an underrated job in Tennessee, and he's certainly, I think, if you've seen the draft last year, you've seen that he get his legs cut out from under him with the AJ Brown trade. Which
just a smidgen.
just to say he was less than happy about that trade would probably be a bit of an understatement.
Well, he won that one. Was it the general manager didn't last much longer after that.
Very true.
I'll need to ask KT what his thoughts on Okonkwo is for tight end for my dynasty league. I'll message-
He's not in a
message him
league, you don't need
afterwards.
his advice to basically get his draft strategy.
Other teams that are winning the free agency so far, well, New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers.
I'm waiting for
decided
Rodgers to
to leave.
retire.
What do you think? How do you think that's going to play out then? Brian, I'll come to you first of all. Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show talking about how he felt after his time in the darkness, as he said. He thought he was ready to play again. Yeah, but going into it, he was ready to retire, but then came out, he was ready to play again. But then he kind of put it on the Packers. They were ready to move on from him. God knows why. God knows why that a team like that are want to move on for a guy that does hears all his dirty laundry every week in the Pat McAfee show. Do you think that'll go through? Do you think he's going to end up in New Jersey, as Stuz likes to remind us?
I think
Playing this season, he's got Lazard there already.
Lazard's there. Corey Davis is. I think it's a done deal. I don't know what they're dragging on about. I think I've got a funny feeling. Bits I've been seeing in the media that that second rounder that they got from us for Moore is going to become the Packers as part of whatever other comp the Jets have to front up for them. But they're sat right now with what was I think we were 42nd overall, so they're currently sat with 42 and 43, I think. So one of those will go to Green Bay with whatever else they dish over
or
for
both.
Possibly both. They'll dish over draft capital. The Jets are in. The Jets are sat on a good roster. They kind of are really only missing that piece. They tried it last year with Wilson. It obviously wasn't going to work. Is he a longer term project? We'll wait and see. Salah was making all the noises last year about how he was still the future of the franchise. And to be fair, there's nothing that says that can't still be the case with Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers has only got 2 years in him, 3 top end before he retires.
Or he just does one and then gets bored.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But he's not.
If they have a bad year
not
next
gonna,
year, then
he's
screw it. I've
he's
got
not
all the money I can get. I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's just he won't be
Off to
around for very
isolation
long.
chamber.
He won't be around long. Garrett Wilson was looking electric, particularly towards the closing parts of the season last year. Brees Hall, before he took the injury, was Brees Lightning. It's a potentially excellent looking offense. So I don't.
Is good.
I think they're just indeed their defense is excellent as well. I think they're just but we're crossing T's and dotting I's with that one. It's a done deal, just waiting to get announced. And then the Jets could be scary. Jets could be scary good. I've got a lot of time for Salah as a coach as well. I think he's an excellent head coach. I think that could be a very, very good team. Although if Rodgers does just decide to retire for the hell of it, I am going to find it so funny.
Studs, I'm going to come to you next. Before I do that, I read this wee quote in the NFL.com website. It said that he instantly becomes, even at this stage of his career, the most talented quarterback to ever play for the Jets. Rodgers' worst season, which was last season, was more statistically impressive than anything put together by a Jets quarterback in the past 50 years. That's saying something. That's saying something.
They've got some legendary quarterbacks, and we're comparing stats across it. Is that era adjusted, or is it just raw numbers?
Let's not get into semantics here, Stu. The past 50 years, he already walks into the building and raises the level, raises the standard that is set there.
Joe Namath retire 40.
I know. I was going to say, what about Joe
51 years ago?
As Stu knows, you can't argue with a statistic.
Yeah, I do have one related to free agency, but I'm waiting till we name a few more teams.
We'll get there. I'd immediately started shaking my head because I thought you were going to say he immediately becomes the most talented quarterback in the AFC, and I was just like, oh my God, please don't finish this game.
I was going to wait on as well, Studs.
Aye, so that I'd started shaking my head, but listen, you're talking over the last 50 years, the only Jets quarterback that I can kind of think of from a talent standpoint
is Flacco.
Footsteps Flacco. Brett Favre is the one that I'm familiar with. Do you know what I mean? And obviously went to the Jets, didn't quite work out, and then reinvented himself in Minnesota just to really piss the Packers off. But
maybe that's Rodgers' ultimate plan. He's going to replace Kirk Cousins.
I was actually thinking about that as well. How funny would it be? Is that years of give me a wide receiver, and in 2 seasons he's in Minnesota, chuck it to Jefferson.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
It's maybe worth a $5.
Aye.
I was going to say, is Minnesota your team that you were saying earlier should trade for Lamar? That's just my.
No, it's another AFC team.
That's an AFC team.
I would, if I'm the Indianapolis Colts.
Listen, I grant them permission to do it as well. Guys, look, the rule here is anybody that's not in the AFC North can have Lamar. Any of them. And preferably nobody we're playing this year.
Even if there's a chance you get them in the playoffs.
I love it. That's a long way away. That's a big assumption that the Browns will be anywhere near a playoff game.
In terms of just kind of winding it back into the kind of question, I think it's probably a difficult. For me, certainly, it's a difficult one to can argue. I mean, they have had legendary quarterbacks. Obviously, Joe Namath, who's offered to unretire his jersey if Rodgers does come in, is when you think Jets quarterback, he's probably the one that springs to mind right off the bat. But again, since then, recency, you're looking at Wilson, you're looking at Flacco, probably Fitzmagic as well. So, in terms of those guys, is Aaron Rodgers more talented? Absolutely, based on what we've seen. It's a difficult one to argue. Obviously, Favre didn't have his best time. Favre. I'm thinking Mandalorian. But I think Favre didn't have his best time in New York, certainly, which is why he ended up in Minnesota. So Rodgers probably does. Let's be honest about it. He's a 2-time MVP in the last 3 years, so he's certainly a talented guy.
Let's have a wee look at some of the other teams then that won in the free agency. Detroit Lions. they stand to win
Yeah.
biggest of all. If Aaron Rodgers decides to leave Green Bay, they automatically are going to be favourites to win the division then.
But the Bears.
Don't
You're
forget
forgetting
the
about
Bears.
The Bears.
I was fishing there. I was waiting for Grant
Bear
to phone in.
down.
Grant's going to be caught furiously type on Twitter.
But
Nah,
the Lions have got a cracking team. They've
They do.
recruited well. They've signed TJ Gardner Johnson from the Eagles. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a big
Cameron
pickup.
Sutton,
Big
Emmanuel
pickup.
Mosley too.
Yep.
They've recruited well, and already they had a team that was, I think we all talked about last season about how much fun they were to watch. I'm looking forward to see how they
Well, they were like a
continue
ball
to
here away
progress.
from. They were a ball here away from making the playoffs. So.
They were. Oh, that's a sin. That's a
Who
sin.
knocked
That's
them
They
out?
helped us
That's
actually. They
how
were
we-
the good guys. They were the good
Yeah.
guys. They helped us.
See on the Lions, right? Just I'm thinking of the running back moves they've made, right? They've brought in David Montgomery and they let go Jamal Williams. I found that bizarre. I mean, Jamal Williams from a even purely from a locker room perspective. I mean, you watch his interviews,
Yeah.
and you would he comes across whether he's talking about Pokemon or he's remembering his grandpa, and then turns it into the fact that they're dogs. So he's greeting one minute and then laughing and ready to batter you the next.
Yeah.
He just seems like that. And again, Hard Knocks last year, some of his statements, I'm going to run through you like diarrhea. It's just these kind of things as he's talking shit to another team. He's absolutely class. What was the one I heard the other day? If you're going to piss like a puppy, stay in the porch, let the big dogs in the yard. I was just nuts. I mean, he just seems like somebody you'd love to have in your locker room. So to lose that personality, now I don't know what David Montgomery's like as a personality, right? But I would rather have Jamal Williams, and I think sneakily for the Saints, I think that's a great move, especially with the Kamara crap hanging over him and potential ban coming his way.
Come on now, right? Alvin Kamara is going to be fine. He's going to play every snap this season, and this also has nothing to do with trade conversations that I have had with some of our compatriots in the Dynasty League. Jamal Williams is going to disappear into nothing, and it should be worth very little.
The only team that Alvin Kamara is playing every snap for is the Meme Machine. Let's be honest. He's going to be in the reboot of The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
That seems like nothing good.
You were saying there about Jamal Williams, and he said that the offer that he got for the Lions was quite disrespectful, that they've been done with me, and I could tell. The offer they gave me made me feel that it was just very disrespectful and just shown that they really didn't want me back there. But it's all love. This just says to the guy, it talks to the guy itself. It's all love. I know my teammates, everybody there at Detroit Lions have love for me and all that. But at the same time, it's just we couldn't come to terms on things. It's just funny as all. It's a sin, but again, he's moving to the Saints, a team that are on the up themselves. An exciting player, and what's going to be an exciting league division there next season too. Looking forward to that. What about losers then? Losers in free agency. Las Vegas Raiders. They lost Darren Waller. Stu, how did they lose Darren Waller? What happened there? What was McDaniels up to?
Well, I mean, Brian, you were alluding to something earlier on. Or you might actually be
Yeah.
better to talk about this because there was
Go
a
for it,
bit
Brian.
of a
Aye, so the Darren Waller, I was totally with Keith in this when it broke. I thought this was an absolute howler. How do you do this? But evidently, this is obviously Raiders press we're kind of getting this from, so take it for what it is. But apparently during the bye this year, now Waller was injured in the run up to the bye, so he wasn't really going to be doing much. But the team still wanted him about, and he just swanned off to South Cali. Just apparently just phoned him and left a message saying, "Find me." And that was that. So it sounds like he is. And then you look at how it all went down, where they just traded him while he was getting married. Like he was at his wedding, said his vows, and then found out he was moving to New York.
That's cold.
I mean, there's
rumours
no
were that
cities to move to than New York, though, is the thing. So,
well, you say that though. The rumours were that during the combine, McDaniels was telling all the reporters about the upcoming wedding, which had been totally hush-hush, kept top secret. And some of the rumours that you're hearing is that it might be a wee bit his nose was put out of plate because he didn't get an invite. Now, you mentioned going to
That's a
New
hell of
York.
a way to be better.
Yes, they have. You said going to New York. He's probably seen Tom Brady going back to Kraft's wedding during the season there, and he's getting all jealous with him. Going to New York's it's fantastic. That's brilliant. But when your wife plays for
Plays in Vegas at
Oh,
the
that's
plays for the
WNBA.
Vegas, yeah,
Yeah.
the WNBA,
Is it
that kind of
Alan
makes it a
check the
bit,
name?
I forgot that she
Can't
played
remember.
for Vegas. Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
that
So
makes
you
a
can
lot
see
worse.
that it's getting Game of Thrones
Uh,
level, like
See,
the lost
fixing there, isn't it?
see
to
on
name
tight
check
end
them,
though.
the Las Vegas Aces to
Yep.
just to name drop the team we
Cheers,
all
mate.
remember.
Yep. So yeah, just to kind of talk a bit more about tight ends. Obviously, I was doing that with the Bengals earlier, but that's who Moreau played for as well. And like he,
Mhm.
stood in when
Mhm.
Waller was
Yeah.
out and he played
Yep.
very well. Every time he's
Yeah.
stepped up, he's done well when Waller's been out previously. So they've lost both of their top two options at tight end. So yeah, I would agree that the Raiders have not had a
But
very
they
good.
have, but they have signed. They have signed the one and only Jimmy G. A 3-year,
That's true.
$72.5 million deal. 34 million guaranteed at signing. Studs, what do you think of that signing? Jimmy G to Vegas. That seems like a marriage made in the wee blue chapel. That one, doesn't it?
To be honest, I think it's just, and I'm sure I said it in our WhatsApp chat where it was like, let's move from Derek Carr to Italian-looking Derek Carr. It's literally the same guy
Let's
with a
move from
suntan.
beige to taupe.
It's for all the talk over last year where you had some pundits putting the Chiefs as the fourth best team in the AFC West last year. It's the Raiders don't frighten me in the slightest, to be honest. And Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo is it's as Brian says, beige to taupe. It's literally
Ocean
They're
grey
like
to military
the
grey.
two wee angels and devil on your shoulder, aren't they? You've got Carr, the wee angel on one side,
Yeah.
Jimmy G the other.
it's they need to do some. I think their defence was atrocious last year. Do you know what I mean? Derek
Max
Carr,
Crosby's good.
Max Crosby
Max
is an
Crosby is, but he can't
excellent
do it all
player.
himself.
That's
That's
exactly
the
it. Chandler Jones had one memorable play that was literally dropped into his lap. He was brought in to be a disruptor, and the only thing he disrupted was Jacoby Myers back pass to Mac Jones, and then he disrupted Mac Jones quite violently after that. Let's be honest.
That's very true.
So it's
Mac Jones had it coming. Hey, he went after Eli Apple. We don't forget those kind of things.
Eli Apple.
Apologist.
Apologist. Apologist.
Apple-ologist.
Eli Apple
Oh.
is like the Robbie Savage of the NFL. Nobody likes him, and he brings it on himself. He literally he asks for it every single
Okay,
time. He
right, I
starts
really
talking
Eli
want
Apple's
Eli
got better
Apple.
hair.
No, I want Eli Apple to grow Savage's hair. I want Eli
Imagine
Apple to get
that.
that haircut.
Right, I'm going to send him a message right now. Hold on. Right. Eli, here's a picture of a Welsh guy.
So, the Jimmy G move. Listen, who's he got to throw to? He's got Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
He's got Josh Jacobs is going to get run into the ground on the franchise tag. Other than that, could I tell
Myers
you who
and
their next
Renfro.
receiver- Oh, Myers,
Jacob-
that's right.
Myers,
They said
Jacoby Myers is
yeah.
decent. Hunter
Jacoby
Renfro's a
Myers
good
is decent.
receiver.
Renfro's
Renfro's good.
one of the best. Like I personally think Renfro's one of the better route runners in the entire
Yeah,
league.
Renfro's good. They've got now. To be fair, he was terrible for us last year, the year before, but they have replaced Waller with Hooper. They've picked up.
That's
a
right.
different
Okay,
tight
so they
end.
have signed a tight end.
Yeah, they've got Hooper.
He's a
They've
Pro
got
Bowl
OJ
player,
Howard.
Brian.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah, they've
Pro
got OJ
Bowler,
Howard
so-
sitting in there as well. So
Okay,
they've
maybe
got
they're
OJ
right.
Howard, that's right. I forgot to say him.
It's not, but OJ Howard's an old horse these
Studs
days.
has
But
talked yourself into it. They're going to win the AFC
But-
West now.
that's it. Chiefs are fourth
Like
again.
yourself.
I said I'll be quite happy if the pundits all sit and talk about us as being fourth best team in that league because it
That's
just
what they
seems
did
to
last
piss
year, look
people
at
Aye,
off.
exactly. Should we seen how
Aye.
that ended?
So let's
Mahomes- Mahomes and Kelsey pinning the takes to their lockers. Like,
aye, I think I'm quite happy if we go under the radar. So let all these teams pay Jacoby Myers 33 million and things like that, and we'll see what happens.
Can I
Right,
give you my
we'll do a wee
statistic?
blast.
Can I
Oh,
give you my
yeah,
statistic
go
of the
for it,
week
Stu.
here? It's related to free agency. So it's something that I kind of started looking into for last week's show because it was the first week of free agency, and it was just related to teams spending big in free agency and what their measure of success is, like the next season and the years
Yes.
after that. And what I found, crunching all my numbers and all my math, was that I kind of looked over the last like decade. It took the top 3 spending teams from free agency each year, and then kind of worked out, okay, well, how did it go for them the next season? And out of those 30 teams, I want you to take a guess at how many of those teams finished above 500 in that year after they spent, they were one of the top 3 free agency spending teams.
2.
I'll say 7.
Well, it's more than
I'm
2
gonna-
and 7.
I'm going to politely decline because Stu's already told me the answer.
Okay. So actually, if you take the number 7 and multiply it by the number 2, you're at the right answer. 14 out of the
15.
30 teams, 14 teams managed to go above 500. And
Wow.
when I was looking into it a bit more, you're averaging 3 to 4 extra wins on your year before, kind of thing. So if you look at the teams that are up there, currently as it stands, last week when I first looked at it was the Bears, so this was going to be a Grant bashing session. But they're no longer in the top 3, so Grant, you're off the hook. The Broncos, they've spent the most. It includes re-signing players that you have on your team.
Mm-hmm.
So the Broncos have spent 235 million, or basically 236 billion so far over the free agency window, just in contracts, money going out, parties to Russell Wilson bonuses and all that crap.
Basically, that they're paying for the Wilson deal through
Yeah.
free agency.
Yeah.
Which
So
if they get an extra 3 wins, that takes them to 8 and 9.
they'll be 8 and 9 next year, so they won't be 500. There are outliers to it though, and for Grant, for the good news for you was the Bears. They managed to get 7 wins when they were the top spending team, or like 7 wins more the next season than it was in 2018. Which I think was the last time they made the playoffs, wasn't it?
So they can go to 10 wins.
The next 2 highest spending teams we've mentioned already. New Orleans, 191 million, and again that's partly with them kicking money down the road. And then
That's
Atlanta,
the
Atlanta 187 million. So that's 2 teams from the same division. Both of them, they were both 7 and 10 last year.
Yeah.
So if you get 3 or 4 wins, for that, then you're going to be an above 500 team, and in that division, you're probably making the playoffs.
That's the playoffs.
So
last year.
I would
You've
say
won the division.
the Saints and the Falcons, I think, have spent their money wisely, is the summary to the statistic. The Broncos, we'll see. We'll see. They're asking a lot, though, and they're in that division.
You're just
with the
unhappy
Raiders.
because Pirine went to the Broncos.
I love Pirine. I hope he does well. I knew we couldn't keep him, but no, the Broncos, they're in that division with the Chiefs and the Raiders that you just spoke about how they're going to win. And I guess the Chargers, I don't know what they're going to do, especially with Eckler maybe moving.
If the Chargers lose Eckler, that's them done. Just
Yep.
right off.
Yep.
He's shot my about. Right, let's
Aye.
fire through some news then from the week. Let's see, for past fortnight. Jalen Carter, the draft prospect, was involved in was it some illegal drag racing where there was a crash
Racing,
and
yeah.
two members of his team actually died. Do we know anything? Was it him that's driving the car at the time?
He was driving the other. I think he was in a
He was
car
driving the other
himself.
car.
He
Yeah.
was racing his buddies
Right.
who are in like a Jeep Street Hawk or something like that, which is like a highly tuned 4x4, and
Yeah.
they crashed, and two of them in there died.
So he's entered a plea deal. He's not going to serve any jail time, which has been chopped around all the teams that are looking at him as a prospective draft pick, and still quite high up there. I think I've seen him linked with the Seahawks.
The Browns.
And
He'll get knocked.
The
He'll get
Browns,
knocked
he need to
out.
fall some way to get to the Browns.
I was going to say he fought in the third. He'll drop around. That's what's going to happen. He'll drop around.
Brian, I don't think he drops around. I think
Not full round?
I think he still goes top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
depends how he interviews. If he's showing contrition, he shows that he's getting his head down.
Yeah.
He's
So you're saying
he's
he
wanting to focus on
definitely
football.
shouldn't go brum.
He shouldn't.
For God's sake,
it's a
Brian.
terrible
Sorry.
terrible pun. I was going to bring up Joe Mixon, but he never said about that, I think.
Oh, an even worse pun. Is this turning into the dad jokes now? Everyone take your
I'm
shot.
looking forward to that one. Panthers, CJ Stroud has been to visit the facilities there, done some interviews. Sounds as if he will be going to Carolina. Think that's a good move for them.
need to do
just
something.
I mean, CJ Stroud, you look like he's a guy. He looks solid, solid enough looking. Because he was Ohio State, and so I watched a bit of him playing just through the proximity of the Bengals, kind of thinking on that. But you know, he's one of these things where he's not going to walk in and be. He's a guy I have tagged as kind of like, give him a couple of years or 3 years, and he'll probably be pretty good. He's a project, but he's a stable project, if that makes sense. Like I don't know if his upside is the same as some of the other guys in the draft. I can't remember whether he's Studs. Can you remember the ages? Because I can't remember if he's one of the
21.
The,
21.
He's one of the younger.
Of them. Yeah, they're all 21-year-olds. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's one that's 23. I seem to remember, or is it?
Stroud's 21.
21. Yeah.
There's definitely an older one in there.
But for a bit of context,
Richardson's the youngest. I know that.
It's worth to remember that Bryce Young's been interviewing the Panthers as well.
Yeah.
Who was the Josh McCown one where he basically said about, because Josh McCown's on the Panthers as a coach now.
Yeah.
He said something like, there's a video where you can see him mouthing something about, I'll see you down and basically I'll see you in a home down in Carolina or something like that, and everybody's kind of reading it as well. That's who they're going for, type thing. So, I think it was.
Is he the one
Josh
that's most like? Is he the one that's most like Cam Newton? Yeah,
I think you'd probably say Richardson would probably be more like Cam.
Richardson's
pure athleticism.
Freak athlete.
Yeah.
He's
about.
Did you see Cam Newton's video?
Yes, but ain't 32 better than me. Yes, there are.
How do these randoms keep getting jobs? The T-Rex arms.
That was quite interesting. That's
great. Just for the memes it's created. Just the memes. There's not 32 better than me, and immediately everybody just stitched together 32 random NFL quarterbacks saying, yes, there are.
Poor Cam.
Other ones we've got Thielen leaving the Vikes to go to the Panthers. Another solid move there.
That's one of those ones where you kind of hope when there's guys like that they retire with the team, because like he's from that area, was undrafted, managed to make it onto the team. It's had like a very good career in Minnesota.
True fairy tale.
Proper fairy tale stuff. You're right. And then he's went on. I'm sure he'll do well, and he'll be a great guy to learn. He's another one of those locker room guys that been there, done it, worked his way up the hard way. Like, so he'll be great to learn from, and he's model professional and all that. I mean, he has lost a step the last few years, so. I get it, but I mean, if I was Minnesota, I would have been going like, you know what, let's just try and keep him, because even if he drops down to a WR3 or something, then just tell him like, we can't pay you a fortune anymore. Like, you just need to take what we're giving you. But
he'll do the 1 day deal and he'll retire a Viking.
100%.
Yeah, hopefully. I like that. It's a nice sentimental touch. I like that. The Crew's very own Viking fans, Shaney and Smudger, they were quite sad about that. It's shame to see him to move on. Let's see a wee bit of other bit of news that I will focus on then is Gesicki leaving the Miami Dolphins to go to the Pats.
It's amazing
the incestuous nature of the AFC East is something special, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing how many players go to teams in the same division. Because obviously, Brian, you mentioned Obi earlier on. It's amazing how many teams go to teams in the same division, and I don't know if it's just family ties after they've been at a team for a few years, so that they're. But I mean, Miami's nowhere near New England.
Bill's just trying to collect playbooks. Bill's just after the Miami playbook. He's writing down every signal, every call.
What's that crazy stone bastard doing this time?
See, on that side of it, right? So a lot of vets have went to the Pats in the past and it hasn't worked out, right? There's a long list of them. And the reason they give is because it's how difficult the playbook is.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody like Juju, who obviously, listen, more than happy with Juju at the Chiefs, I would have liked to keep him this year on a deal, but didn't work out that way. Somebody like Gesicki as well, going to the Pats, may not be as nice a move as what they're thinking, because if the playbook's still as difficult, and could be issues.
Well, a bit last year.
I was going to say, I'll tell you what though, Studs, the playbook must be better than whatever it was they were trying to run last year.
Oh, well.
Because I don't think there was an offensive playbook last year. I think that was the problem.
Who was it? Patricia?
He's like, no, this is how we play defense. So,
Judge.
This is what I would play here. So do the opposite of that.
See, just on the tight ends as well, right? So there was what we had. We've had quite a few big money tight end free agent signings. So you've had Mike Gesicki, who we've just mentioned. You've had Hayden Hurst to the Panthers, as you mentioned, and then we had Dalton Schultz signing for the Texans, right? So of those three tight ends, which one of them, based on performance, do you think would you expect to be the highest paid?
I'm not playing this
Schultz.
game, man.
I think probably Schultz, but
I went Schultz.
I'd have went Schultz as well.
Yeah. But Hurst,
the NFL contracts are so weird.
It was Hayden Hurst
last year.
And it's Hayden Hurst by a good bit, because Schultz and Gesicki got, I think it's something like up to 4 million. It's not even a guaranteed 4 million, it's up to 4 million. Now, Schultz especially was Dak's security blanket for the last 2 seasons and has looked very, very good. Hurst is an excellent player. I've got no qualms with Hurst getting paid, but I would have expected Schultz to have a bigger market than
I would have thought Schultz would have been closer to Hurst, unless I can't remember how many injuries Schultz has had though, because I don't. Is there a durability?
He was injured this season. I can't remember about last season.
That's probably because tight ends start getting injured, and then it's that thing when you're a big guy, it's harder to come back and be the way you are. I know Gronk did it a few times, but I mean, you
don't get to use Gronk as an example. But
no one can
an example.
Like Kelsey, that's the thing with Kelsey. It's amazing
totally
how
different
durable
animals
he's been, and with the age he is, and he's still going the way he is, but. I think it was a durability thing. Hurst, I think, deserved to get paid because I always thought he was all right, but until he moved to the Bengals, and then it wasn't even
then you watched him.
It wasn't even the reception thing. It was all the other stuff. Like, see the pass blocking and everything. He's just like a brilliant, proper, all-round tight end. Whereas Gesicki feels more like a kind of wide receiver, a big wide receiver.
Gesicki is a big wide receiver.
So I don't know how that's going to work with the Pats, because traditionally they like their tight ends to chip in and help the O-line. So,
so what you're saying is you undervalued Hurst before he became a Bengals. Now, where was Hurst before he was at the Bengals? And I wonder why you devalued him.
Well, no. It's not
because he was on the Ravens.
You guys know I like Ravens players, or there's some I like.
What's this apologist stuff about?
Apologies back.
I think the problem with Hurst was more he was kind of trapped with Mark Andrews ahead of him, so you didn't see him as much. So I wasn't, unless the Bengals were playing the Ravens and getting blown out, I wasn't really watching their games day to day, so I just didn't appreciate how good he actually was. It's like
maybe have to change it.
Yeah, it's like
maybe have to change it to AFC North apologist there, Stu. If you're from Ravens as well.
That means he's going to do some Browns apologist work. Listen, I want to hear that.
Do the Steelers next.
God. Missionaries and deepest, darkest parts of Africa wouldn't even be an apologist for them. Anyway, moving to
that took a turn.
You massaged that phrase there, Keith.
Let's go for this week in NFL. I learned this week in NFL, I learned that there was more to Jimmy G accepting his 3-year, $67.5 million deal, $34 million guaranteed to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. There was also another offer put to him that may have swayed his decision. He got a raunchy offer of free use of the services of a certain facility there that's well known in Vegas.
It's not very It's not very
Wonder if any
2023
Browns
though,
players
is
have
it?
visited that facility before, Brian. What do we think?
They don't
I wonder if
pay.
any.
They don't
I wonder if
pay.
any Patriots owners have visited that. Right, we need to watch
What about you
them.
guys?
We're gonna-
What about you guys? What have you learned this week in the NFL?
See, my big one was my big boring one about Waller and the fact that he was
Oh,
actually
wonderful.
apparently he completely just abandoned the team halfway through the year. That was my this week in the NFL.
There we go.
I think
Studs?
for me it was that Big Ben had been contacted by the 49ers
Yes, I saw that.
when they had the injuries and problems at quarterback. So obviously it may have been interesting if with Big Ben's noodle arm, could he throw it 5 yards to McCaffrey off the back of the old line? Then he did it for Najee Harris these last season. So
could he throw further than a Niners quarterback who has no elbows?
Well, there we go.
What we used to.
What did I learn this week? I mean, to be honest, I'm going to also be pretty boring, and mine's more of a personal life type situation, and that is time management. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at it. It's a good thing I've got this Bengals watch now.
He needs Bill. He needs Bill to run him through some clock management drugs.
Christ, that's the New Works playbook. Like compared to my last place, it's like I'm just not grabbing it. I'll be at the door like Juju.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, this has been wonderful. I get to get back chatting football with you again. Brian, thanks very much for joining us tonight, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me. It has, as always, been good to be back. And yeah, as we've said earlier, it is all about the build to the draft, and I don't mean your draft, the actual draft.
Studs, thanks very much for joining us, buddy. I hope you have a great week and hopefully see you again next week. Yep.
Yeah, all good, man. Always happy to jump on and talk some shit.
And the handsomest crew member, it has to be said, rocking. See if somebody say I've got a pair of orange specs. I don't know how that would get done.
Hey,
buddy boy, you are rocking them big time.
They're totally like classy free Reka vodka. Shades as well.
Other alcoholic beverages are available.
Black.
I actually thought you got them for a packet of Frosties for Tony the Tiger.
That would be better.
We've been the Gridiron Crew. If you've enjoyed listening to the crew, you can get us on Twitter, Instagram, get in touch. We'd love to hear from the listeners. We'll be back next week and have a wee listen out for some feature podcasts that we've got in the next couple of weeks. We got in touch. I forgot to tell you guys this. I'll mention this very quickly. My wee boy was playing football up in East Kilbride, as we were coming off. There was a women's NFL American football team coming on to train. So I popped up and says, we do a podcast here. We'd love to get a chance to interview you sometime. So hopefully get you guys to help me with this. We'll be doing a wee interview with the EK Pirates and maybe some of the other American football teams throughout Scotland. I think it's good that we can maybe spread the word about it. I think it's brilliant that it's filtering over here. Studs, your wee boy plays the flag football, doesn't he? Or has done?
Yeah, it coincided with his regular football, but after Easter he's going back to it. So we shall see how it goes.
Sweet,
brilliant.
It's also good that there's the women's football's made it over there.
Yeah.
As well, so like fantastic. Good to see the ladies out kind of playing.
Oh, it was absolutely pouring last night. Or I stayed around a wee bit longer, but I'm going to try and get to a couple of games maybe over Easter and definitely during the summer holidays to see some stuff as well. We've been the crew. We've got a long road ahead before we get back to regular football, so just remember the crew will see you through. Thanks very much for listening.